Hi, my name is Martin Stevens. I'm head of recruitment at Salesforce.com in EMEA. What I wanted to do in my slot, I think you will see a bit of overlap in terms of what Stuart's already presented. And I also wanted to address the issue in terms of what Salesforce sees as cloud computing. Because Stuart's already said, you ask any 10 people and each will give you a different version of what they believe cloud computing to be. And in fact, as you can see from the slide, Salesforce.com actually believes that cloud computing has moved on again. We're now into what we call Cloud 2. I have to show this. Salesforce.com, we're New York Stock Exchange listed. Sorry about the feedback there. So if anybody decides to make an investment decision based on what I say this morning, then this is my get out of jail card. So let's kind of, I think this is actually quite an interesting slide. And it helps us start to think in terms of the evolution of computing. And what tends to happen is that computing goes in like 10-year jumps. So if you think of kind of where it started from back in the 1960s with mainframe, through mini computing, client server, into the desktop internet computing, to where we are now, which is all about mobile computing and how we access data and applications via things like BlackBerries, iPads, iPhones, Google Android, whatever it might be. Now, with each change that computing goes through, it brings about dramatic disruption to the computing industry. New players will appear. Some of the old guard will wither and die. Some will continue to evolve. So, the constants running right the way through that will be IBM, for example, into the 1980s with the Oracles and the Microsofts, and of course they're as strong as they've ever been. But if anybody's been in recruiting as long as I have, who remembers Wang or Digital or Data General or even more recently Compaq? Those are companies that didn't evolve, have kind of gone to the wall, and are going to be taken over by something else. So computing is a constant evolution. So I probably don't need to do this now with the introduction that Stuart's given us in terms of who are Salesforce.com. But I think what's useful here is just to kind of give you the Salesforce perspective in terms of what is cloud computing. And I think the easiest way to do that is just to kind of show you a little video, which
you have big ideas to streamline your business and drive sales through the roof. But to get there, your ideas need business apps. And business apps have always been too expensive, especially in times like these. Behind each one is a world of complexity. They need a data center, office space, power, cooling, bandwidth, networks, servers and storage, a complicated software stack, and a team of experts to install, configure, and run them. You need development, testing, staging, production, and failover environments. And when there's a problem, good luck. You call technical support, and they don't know, so they blame someone else. Oh, and when new versions come out, you would upgrade, but that might bring the whole system down. Now, this is for one app. When you multiply these headaches across dozens or hundreds of apps, it's easy to see why the biggest companies with the best IT departments aren't getting the apps they need. Small businesses don't have a chance. Cloud computing is a better way to run your business. Instead of running your apps yourself, they run on a shared data center. You just plug in, like a utility. This makes it fast to get started and it costs less. It's like Gmail compared to Microsoft Exchange. With Gmail, do you need servers and storage? No. Do you need a technical team to keep it up and running? No. Do you have to do upgrades? No. When you use any app that runs in the cloud, you just log in, customize it, and start using it. That's the power of cloud computing. This model is so much better, it's changing the way we think about software. Not just for consumer apps, it's also being used for business apps. We call this enterprise cloud computing. Businesses are running all kinds of apps in the cloud these days, including custom-built apps. Why? Because you can be up and running in a few days, which is unheard of with traditional business software. They cost less because you don't need to pay for all the people, products, and facilities to run them. And it turns out they're more scalable, more secure, and are more reliable than the vast majority of apps out there. Here's why. They're based on an architecture called multi-tenancy. With a multi-tenant app, there isn't a copy of the app for each business that's using it. It's one app that everyone shares. But it's flexible enough for everyone to customize for their specific needs. It's like a giant office building where everyone shares the infrastructure and services, like security, yet each business can customize their own office space. This means apps are elastic. They can scale up to tens of thousands of users or down to only a few. Upgrades are taken care of for you, so your apps get security and performance enhancements and new features automatically. Now, the way you pay for cloud apps is also different. Forget about buying servers and software. When your apps run in the cloud, you don't buy anything at all. It's all rolled up into a predictable monthly subscription, so you only pay for what you use. Finally, cloud apps don't eat up your valuable IT resources, so your CFO will love it. And you can focus on projects that really impact the business, like deploying more apps. Cloud computing is a simple idea, but it can have a huge impact on your bottom line. For more information, go to salesforce.com/cloud computing.
So that I think that video kind of says a lot and gives a very good introduction in terms of what Salesforce thinks is cloud computing. And I think the secret sauce behind Salesforce is that phrase multi-tenant, and that's what we believe a true cloud computing company is all about. It's that sharing in terms of a common application, common resources, common database, so that everybody receives the benefit in terms of innovation, upgrades, security, and everything else. If you talk to other vendors, then again, as Stuart said, their version of the cloud is, it's outsourcing. It's taking your infrastructure, probably putting it in somebody else's data center, but on a set of machines that's probably unique to you. So what's the difference other than shifting the problem down the road? There's no economies there in terms of scale. Most importantly, there's nothing there in terms of innovation and your ability to be able to put value back into your business. So who are Salesforce? So we're a cloud-based technology platform. We're not a software company. It actually took us a while to realize that that's what we were. We started life 11 years ago as a provider of a CRM solution. But what we found was that our customers were taking Salesforce.com as a CRM solution and were customizing it so that it became something completely different. It empowered HR, it empowered recruiting. If you look at in 100 different Salesforce customers, you'll see 100 different versions of Salesforce.com, and all being used in a slightly different way. So about 5 years ago, Salesforce.com took the decision to actually open up our source code to our customers. So that brought out a range of even more infinite possibilities in terms of the customers and what they do. And this is where things like Apex and Visualforce start to kick in, and the brand Force.com came out about 4 years ago, which is when I joined the organization. The next big quantum leap forward in terms of that is an announcement that we made about 12 months ago, a partnership with VMware, introducing VMforce, which takes away this need in terms of proprietary development on the Apex platform, so that now anybody that is a Java developer can develop applications off Salesforce.com. And just to show you how the cloud is becoming more and more important, just kind of look in terms of, where have we come from, where are we up to now? So Salesforce is now $1.5 billion revenue run rate. We have over 77,000 customers. Now we're adding about 5,000 net new customers every quarter. Talk to Oracle, talk to Microsoft, and ask them how many net new customers they add. Let's talk about Cloud 2, because this is very much about where technology is transitioning again. And this, again, is where it will actually impact in terms of IT skills and what you guys are all interested in. So Cloud One, and you kind of go back to when Salesforce was first started, Mark Benioff's vision then was to make enterprise computing just like Amazon. Easy to use, intuitive. Whoever goes on a course to learn how to use Amazon or eBay? Absolutely nobody. So Salesforce was designed to be like that because the key to success in terms of any enterprise application is ease of adoption. It's getting people to use them. If applications are used, the business sees value back. To get them used, there has to be some kind of carrot, and the biggest carrot there is going to be ease of use. But what we're seeing now is we're moving from the old school internet, which is about pulling information, to the new world, which is about pushing. So you think in terms of your social life and the applications that you use on your social life, be it Facebook, be it Twitter, be it YouTube. It's all about feeding information to you, pushing information to you. And what tends to happen is that what you use in your social life will start to appear in the business world. And we're kind of, just to kind of give you a feel for that, to show you that it's real, this is some analysis that Morgan Stanley did last year. And it shows that in terms of like business communication, so what you and I would consider to be the norm in terms of business communication is email. And email usage is kind of now, it's peaked, it's stagnating. But look what's happening in terms of collaboration and messaging, in terms of the more social platforms. That's continuing to grow and that's continuing to move upwards. The other thing to consider is in terms of how we use the internet and what we're using it for. So, we've gone from not that long ago in terms of, the internet being dominated by the world of search, whether it be Google, Yahoo, MSN, to much more in terms of this, this world of collaboration and the growth in terms of social media tools, particularly things like Facebook. The other thing that's really, really important, again, to support this shift to Cloud 2 is to look at how people access the internet and where from. You're seeing that kind of, the traditional method of accessing the internet through things like this, again, staying very much constant, very much stagnant. But look at the growth that you're seeing in terms of the use of devices like these. Again, increasing exponentially. These are things that are actually going the other way from the business world out into the social world. And, you've only got to walk through Oxford Circus tube station to see BlackBerry adverts absolutely everywhere. And I'm sure, the high proportion of the people in here have probably got iPhones in their pockets as well. So there we go. It's kind of this thing, we call it the Facebook imperative. So, Facebook, which dominates the social lives, particularly of the younger generations, will become more and more prevalent in terms of the world of work. And that also feeds a mindset as well. So when it comes to looking at skills, it's more about the softer skills of people, and how they work. So, the average youngster nowadays, is probably connected with 10 of their friends before breakfast through tweets, through social media such as Facebook. They've probably not spoken to anybody. A lot of them actually aren't even capable of rational speech anymore. We used to now, touch screens rather than clicking. We're used to tablets or becoming used to tablets. So, things like, the iPod Touch, the iPad. iPad's almost becoming corporate standard within Salesforce. And we're much more about mobile. Stuart's already mentioned it in terms of, where people work from. The internet is a global media. It doesn't really matter where you are, but as long as you've got one of those devices, you can connect to the internet some way, somehow. Let's kind of consider that in terms of where traditional business applications are. So again, think of your own personal circumstances. If you've got an issue with something that you've bought or something that you use, where do you turn to now to get advice? I'm sure as hell you don't sit on a call centre trying to dial into Nokia or Orange or whoever it is. You're probably on Google. You're probably on Facebook asking your friends, what have you. So again, what Cloud 2 is all about is embracing those social media forms of communication and bringing that back within the core enterprise, leaving behind your traditional applications, whether it be Oracle, Clarify, Siebel, Microsoft. So let's look at, again, from a technology platform point of view. So, traditional computing, and again, back to Stuart's analogy in terms of the Accenture consultants, and you think about development life cycles and how long they are, the capital investment up front. When I started in recruiting, I've always specialised in CRM, and I came into recruiting, I think it was about 1997. I joined an organisation called, I think they're called Spring nowadays. It was Software Personnel in those days. One of the accounts that I worked on was BT. And BT were just embarking on a CRM implementation. They were buying something called Siebel. And I think that was about 98, 99. I stayed in agency world until 1996. And I think BT was still trying to implement Siebel. Still paying Accenture consultants, £1,500, £1,600 a day. And the business, what value were they seeing? Little to none. So again, traditional platforms, too expensive, too complicated, too slow. Excuse the advertorial, but this could be any cloud-based development environment. And this isn't what Salesforce is saying. This is what IDC is saying. This is looking at the world of developing in the cloud versus the world of developing on a more traditional infrastructure. And I think for this audience, the big one has got to be the top one in terms of the reduction, in terms of staffing requirements. 76 to 85% less staff. So that's a phenomenal figure. Development times reduced by 76%. Again, if you're a business, and we talked about the recession and recessionary climate, the businesses that thrive and survive are those that are agile, that they're able to meet the changing needs that are being presented to them by their customers. If you go to your traditional IT function and say, look, we're an Oracle shop, we're a Microsoft shop, we need to introduce this change, and your IT department says, yes, we'll have it ready for you in 2 years, you've missed your opportunity. The cloud allows you to do that in days, months, weeks, not years. So let's kind of think about what does it take to be a Salesforce developer. Now I think from a skills profile, then we're probably no different from any other of your customers. We're pretty much standard. If you're a developer in Salesforce, and before any of you get excited and start cold calling me, we don't actually have any development in the UK. All of our development is in San Francisco. We're pretty much standard Java, JavaScript, PL, SQL. So again, from what Stuart was saying about the back office stays the same. We are probably one of the world's biggest Oracle customers. Ask Mark Benioff that; he'll probably deny it, but that's what it is. But I think what's important here is more the softer skills. And again, back to good old YouTube in terms of a little video. I won't play all of this, but this is more about what we would look for in terms of the softer skills.
Talking sort of same about dev life and everything. Laying down a Linux node, work all night to crank the code. Got my teeth on Java, learned it from my mama. Took up Visual Basic, it's on my ass from LASIK. C++ and XML, Oracle, HTML, ASP and PHP, the sequel to my history. The Palmer guy who wants me, but man, he is so sweaty. The Germans I'm ignoring, NetWeaver's just so boring. Got to crank those APIs, get them to the money guys. Blocking plain Nintendo with subtle innuendo. I got to keep on coding strong. strong and keep the dev life going on. I got the dev life in my bloodstream. I'm living out the coder's daydream. I'm in the dev life midnight matrix. I'm coding Unix, Windows, Linux. I got the dev life going, mama. I'm like the coding Dalai Lama. Yeah, the dev life is the mother lode. See me cranking out some golden code. It's the dev life for me, brother. Yeah, the dev life till I die. Apex is the real shit, Algo just invented it. Watch me build my 2.0, take my pay and work out gold. Out here on the bleeding knife, set up shop in Second Life. A breaker 19, got the Dester online. Coding in a Mac truck, in the John and Starbucks. DevLab got me looking great, Jet Force accelerates. Wiki Wi-Fi, I'm your 2.0 kernel guy. On demand is so fine, working on my own time. Kevin Rose is pinging me, dude I'm playing PSP. Time for the disclaimer, the dev life's a no-brainer. Out past QA, my goal is one. So it's a wrap, my story's done. I got the dev life in my bloodstream. I'm living out the coder's daydream. I'm in the dev life.
I think that's enough of that. I think the idea behind a little video like that is, we like to think that Salesforce is a pretty cool place to work. We're great in terms of drinking our own Kool-Aid, which I think is the expression our colleagues in the Bay use. What we're competing in a world that is looking at a finite pool of resources, and everybody's going at that. But what you've got to do in terms of encouraging people towards you is you've got to be seen as the hip thing, the cool thing. You've got to be the organisation that people will want to trend to. And the soft skills that we'll look for are very much about the culture of the individual. So what that video does there is it highlights things like collaboration. It highlights the confidence in the individuals to be able to be constantly pushing the boundaries. Against Stuart, a great thing about a cloud company hitting the buffers, and the way that any organisation will hit the buffers is to stop innovating. And innovation comes from within; it comes from your people. So you've got to always have somebody that's there prepared to rise up, to take a challenge, to risk almost being shot down. But you'd rather have somebody that will speak, will present an idea, rather than to be worried in terms of whether this is going to fly or not. The big issue in terms of any internet-based development environment, obviously trust, and the other thing is morality. Our customers buy a service from us. It is easy to switch it off. If we fail in terms of any of our obligations to our customers, then it is quite easy for them to walk away. They haven't made a multi-billion-dollar upfront capital investment in terms of buying Salesforce. So we have to be secure, we have to be trustworthy, we have to be available. And those sorts of standards have to be built into the core application in terms of what we're all about. And whilst we like to think that we're sexy, being in the Bay, we're not as sexy as some others. We compete for talent against Google. We compete for talent against Facebook and Twitter. And those are very much social brands. Those are brands that people are using day in, day out in terms of fueling their personal life, whereas Salesforce is a corporate brand, and outside of the world of corporate, no one's ever heard of us. So it's a war for talent for us. Now, I kind of consider from a customer perspective. And I think in terms of how's a traditional IT department set up and how's it staffed. So it's like an iceberg. The vast majority of an IT department adds no value whatsoever to the business. 70% of that iceberg is hidden under the surface and is basically about keeping the lights turned on. So only 30% will go into actually application development, and that's where the value to a business from IT comes in. So why are CIOs talking to the likes of Salesforce? Yeah, it is to strip out cost, and the way that we do that is by turning that iceberg upside down, so that you're moving into a world where 70% is above the parapet, recycling resources into innovating, into adding value into the business, rather than supporting the infrastructure and just keeping the lights turned on. Now, in terms of what's common, what stays true, so the big things are always customer-facing skills. And this is true whether you're Salesforce, whether you're one of our partners, or whether you're one of our customers. The key skills will still be the ability to be able to talk to the business, to understand the business requirement, the business need, and to convert that into a solution. So traditional business analysis, business architecture. No application will sit alone. So again, integration technologies, architecture, web services, absolutely critical. And through innovation, allows you to see greater value to the business. So people that are experts in terms of process design and process improvement, that's very much to the fore. I won't say old school project managers, because that kind of conjures up pictures in terms of Prince 2 and running things by the book and methodologies that take years to apply. So a lot of project management nowadays is using things like agile methodologies, Scrum, lots of time boxing, prototyping and delivering back into the business. Oops. Just before I step away from that, I think, again, just as an indication in terms of how much momentum is now behind this whole concept in terms of cloud computing. I mean, I've not been with Salesforce particularly long. In terms of a career, just shy of 4 years is not long, but just in that very short period of time, we've seen a monumental shift in terms of what's happening in the world of IT. Stuart talked about the big systems integrators and what those systems integrators are doing within the world of cloud. Now, 4 years ago, our systems integrators were non-existent. They just didn't get cloud computing at all. You think about what cloud computing is all about and the mantra that we preach. Where does an Accenture or a Deloitte or a Capgemini, where do they make their money? You're talking about short development times. You're talking about a lower skill set. I've got all these SAP guys that I've spent a fortune in terms of developing their skills, their talent. They're all sat on the bench. I should be sticking those out at £2,000 a day, and I should be keeping them with you for 5 or 6 years. You're going to deliver this in months. You're going to use somebody that works in terms of clicks and wizards rather than detailed coding. Where do I, as the SI, where do I come from that? But what's pushing them towards this is it's coming from their customers. Customers need to strip costs. They need to look at innovation. So they're talking, why aren't you looking at the cloud? Why are you still talking about Oracle? Why are you still talking about SAP? And an interesting kind of, just to give you some stats, to give you some feel in terms of the pace with which the SIs are now moving into the cloud. So when I started, Accenture on their bench in EMEA had 2 cloud-based resources. They are now committing to adding 1,000 every year. Capgemini didn't want to know the cloud, didn't want anything to do with it. Capgemini now have a dedicated cloud practice, and they are adding 10 people to the bench every month, and will continue to do so for the foreseeable future. From a client perspective, we talk about Apex and Visualforce and the proprietary coding languages that exist. When we brought out a certification program, which I think was in 1997, the first developer workshop that we ran to certify people had about 4 people on it. We now run 6 tiers of developer workshops. They run every month and they're always oversubscribed. So, I think the cloud's here to stay. The cloud is very much the future. We hope that Salesforce will be the future of the cloud. And I think that's me done. So, thanks very much.
Wonderful, thank you. Now, just when I thought I knew what the cloud was, you've thrown Cloud 2 at us, but it's interesting to see how long this has been around as a concept, and maybe we haven't absolutely captured the idea. I mean, I'm going to pick up one thing there. I mean, 75 to 86% sort of staffing cuts, and then, an audience of recruiters, that's going to be key. And let me tie it back to another thing. HP, who announced earlier in the year they're going to cut 9,000 jobs from their services because of the sort of the working they're doing to sort of amalgamate and bring together. But interestingly, and I was ready with that question. You said, well, actually, some of these agencies bringing on 1,000 plus or 10 a month. This is the trend now. So, I mean, are we seeing a massive drop in internal staffing resources and a big move towards this now?
I think what you're seeing is a shift. You're seeing a reskilling, but you have to consider this in context. And again, going back to Stuart's presentation, if you think of the world of IT as a triangle, then bottom left-hand corner you have the core business back office. Your heavyweight implementations on SAP, on Oracle. That area won't go away. That is your business. That is your business critical. And when you've spent billions in terms of investment in that SAP implementation, you aren't going to switch it off overnight. When I started in recruiting, I mean, the big skills push there for any of my clients, it was COBOL Kicks DB2. I bet you anybody in this room, you're still recruiting for COBOL developers somewhere because somebody is still running a mainframe. It's never going to go away. I think what you're seeing is more at the periphery. So, probably less emphasis in terms of sysadmins and DBAs. Less in terms of people supporting the back office infrastructure, and more moving towards, say, for example, take your PC support people. If you look at we still have PC support people in our organisation, but they're all about building Macs and iPads and configuring and supporting those, rather than playing with Microsoft Exchange or performance tuning databases or what have you. And again, there is a war for talent. There is a war for talent. If you look at where Salesforce skills come from, then you're robbing Peter to pay Paul. It's this constant churn in terms of you rob from one organisation to feed another one. So I don't think you guys need to pack up and disappoint peer off at any time soon. And your business skills, they're critical, absolutely critical, and they're not going to go away in any way, shape, or form.
That's interesting. I mean, another point you raised there, and just in closing, was the certification program. I mean, the CWJobs Co-UK survey that was just announced today talks about 75% of the people who are questioned, IT professionals are questioned, needing to change their skill sets and certify. And with 6 tiers of certification in the Force product, obviously testament to that.
Absolutely. And I say, obviously, we're nowhere near yet where Microsoft are in terms of their developer certification programs. But the world is changing.
Let me not hog this speaker. Have we got any questions? I'm sure we're burning questions from the floor. Please don't be shy.
Sean Mullins from CWJobs. With the advent of cloud computing, there's clearly a lot of data and information sitting in the cloud. What do you think, or have you seen in terms of security as an opportunity for recruitment in the cloud? I mean, surely this data is, it's in the public domain now. Is there any opportunity in terms of security?
And data's not in the public domain. Data is business critical information. If you think of the world that we're in, if there was any possibility in terms of customer A being able to see the data of customer B, then immediately that's our integrity out the window, and that's us gone. What you're selling, it has to be 110% secure. And not just in the data center, in terms of the traffic between whatever device and back to the data center. So skills from a security point of view, you've got security right the way down the line. You've got security within your own network infrastructure, and if you if you look at where do leaks happen, where does data loss happen? I think 70% of data loss is within your own control. It's about people leaving things like these lying around, people leaving their laptops in the back seats of their car, what have you, putting disks containing company disk data in the post. In fact, what the cloud does is it takes away the need for all of that, because data, you never need to take data off any of these. It's about going into a secure website from any internet-enabled device through a secure connection, and you're straight into that. The only people that can access the data are those people that you tell or give permission to access to. If you look at a Salesforce customer, not even Salesforce can see that data. It's completely secure, it's completely locked down.
I think that echoes, interestingly, though, some of the skills that do come out. The question we asked earlier on of Stuart there is a skill set there, from one view there from Salesforce, but there has to be that perception of the service level, the escrow, and, as you say, data security. So there are a number of new areas that possibly, maybe, as you say, with 70% of loss within the own company, we should have concentrated on before. But I think the point you're raising there is certainly a perceptional view, isn't there? But this is borne through by the fact that it is an evolution, but there will be a need for people to look at different forms of security. Now, anyone else, before I let this fine gentleman go, I will remind you again that the speakers will be available, as will the team from CWJobs.co.uk, in the room, and join us for some more networking, particularly if you've been shy and don't want to ask a question in front of everybody. Okay, well, I tell you what, I'm going to thank you very much indeed, Martin. That was enlightening, definitely, and as I said, from cloud to cloud 2 in about half an hour. Incredible. Thank you very much indeed, Martin.